that he was told by his daughters that they had done this. Now, if he had gone to get the doctor, it would have been either him giving up his 2 children to the law, or he had a choice of letting my mother go.
He let her go.
So he let my mother go. So my mother laid there for some months. Sometimes she would get so pain, and she would start to tell what was going on, what had gone on. Now, when she died, the neighbors saw a burning in the yard. They had taken the mattress, the children had taken the mattress, put it in the yard and started to burn it. The neighbors saw the fire. They came and started to put it out, and they saw these voodoo things in the mattress, in the center of the mattress, with letters that had come from the sisters, and that's how they found out that it was the truth of what my mother was saying. Now, if this was not so, the superstition is that if a mother with a young baby is taken away against the will of God, that the mother will come back and take the baby. Her spirit will come and take the baby. So when they buried my mother, and I was standing there watching this whole ceremony, they had to pass my young sister across the grave several times to break the line between heaven and earth and the body in the grave, so that my mother's spirit would not be able to grab the child. If my mother had died by natural causes or by the hand of God, that ritual would have never happened.
Fascinating insight to a time and a place. Let's take little Eartha Kitt and bring her up north and show her a big city for the first time. Had you ever seen a flush toilet?
I'd never even seen I'd never even seen civilization, let alone a flush toilet. It was a culture shock, and I'm still in shock, as a matter of fact.
Lights that go on and off with a switch, right?
Yes,
magic.
But first of all, when my aunt sent for me, she said 2 sets of everything. 2 underwear, 2 next to that, and 2 shirts, and 2 dresses, and 2 everything. So they put me in everything. And my hair was very long, and very thick, so I had 3 braids going here and 1 going over my head with a French beret on, and and boots up to God knows where. And I had only seen a little flake of snow, you know, and sometimes or the other, and so I didn't know what snow was all about. But this is how they wanted to frighten me, to make me stay down south, because once I was gone, they didn't have this little work mule anymore. So, first time I had a bath, I think, and it was one of those rare times they combed my hair. Oh, they made such a fuss over me, I felt like a queen in the tub that they were bathing me in it. Now, they were saying as they're bathing me, now you know, the trains fly in the air, and sometimes they fall down on people. And you know, these houses are gigantic, and people live on top of one of each other, like little ants in a cubbyhole, and sometimes they fall down. So you're always frightened to be living in this. You don't want to go up north, do you, Eartha? Well, I didn't say 1 word. I just kept my mouth shut. So they made my catfish sandwich. The first time in my life I had a piece of white bread. And I remember it was silver cup bread. I'll never forget it. Here goes the Long Ranger. Every time I hear the Long Ranger, I remember silver cup bread. I owe a silver. So I had a sandwich, a catfish sandwich, an apple, and I think a peach, and a piece of sweet potato pie. And I sat on the train with my little tag that said, my name is Eartha Mae Kitt, and I am to be met by Mamie Kitt at, I think, Pennsylvania Railroad Station. Well, I sat with my face at the window all night long. I didn't sleep, holding my little shoebox of sandwiches. We get to New York. So the porter comes and gets me, and he takes me outside. I never saw so many people before in my whole life. And I felt as though I felt like a little ant. Everybody was going to walk on top of me, and I was going like this, you know, running away from people. I think I'm still running away from this crowd of people. And then they told me that the trains were going to fly in the air and they're going to fall down. Well, what do? We get on a bus, and the bus is under the train track. So you you hear chugga, 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 and I'm looking out the window waiting for the train to fall on top of us. Now we get to 143rd Street, 126 West 143rd Street, and now we go on the second floor. Well, I'd never been up a pair of stairs before in my life. That was also a shock. Then we open the door, and rang the bell, opens the door, and somebody pushes a button or something, and a light goes on. It's Alice in Wonderland, I thought. Not that I knew anything about Alice in Wonderland, but to me it was magic. So I looked at the button for a moment, and then I went on, because as a girl who was brought up in the South, you know, very polite and all that sort of thing, I paid attention to what was going on, and they led me to the sitting room. Now, my aunt was thinking that I was healthy and so on and so on.
You look good. You had a big... You had a lot of clothes on. You look good.
Yes, until they took the clothes off. And
a little stick.
That's right. Although you do have a little pot belly, because it's like almost pelegre, you know, undernourished and so on and so on. So anyway, they discovered that. So anyway, I had to go to the bathroom. So I looked out the window. I looked out one window, and I looked out another window. I'm looking for the outhouse. So finally, I didn't see anything that looked like an outhouse. Besides, it's up on the second floor. I didn't know where the devil, what did you do? So finally, I was sitting there, you know, and going all sorts of physical things with myself. And finally, I think my aunt finally realized that maybe she's in trouble. So she takes me to this little room, and she leaves me there. So I saw the bathtub, and I saw the sink, and I saw this other thing. No. So I didn't know what to do, so I sat on the side of the bathtub going like this for I don't know how long, until finally I think my aunt realized that I was missing. So finally she came into the bathroom, and she was hysterical, because now I couldn't hold myself any longer. I was getting into real trouble. So finally she went there. So you... Yeah.
Eartha May meets the toilet.
Right.
She meets a boy.
Un petit bal au milieu de la ville.
Et naturellement, they fall in love.
Bal, petit bal, où je t'ai connu, souviens-toi, tu n'étais pour moi ce soir-là, rien qu'un inconnu.
I think the part of Eartha's life that I like best, she's written a book that was published in England. I tell you that in case you're traveling. But there were other stories, like when she heard the radio. We're going to get Eartha to move along. By accident, she went to an audition. It really was an accident, and it was for Katherine Dunham, and they were very famous, the Katherine Dunham dancers. And before she knew it, the little girl had a scholarship and $10 a week, which, by the way, was my first salary. I got $2 a day when I first started work, and I related to that like crazy. But it took you around the world to see a lot of other toilets and radios and sinks and things like that. And even Orson Welles saw you up on a stage one day and said, wow, huh? The most exciting woman in the world. She won't say this because she's, you know, it's not exactly the kind of thing. But you worked with Sammy. And since Sammy has just recently passed on, and he's a friend that we share, tell me about that. Was that romantic? Was there a romance going, I guess?
Well, I was engaged to Sammy for a minute. I had known Sammy for a while because we went to San Francisco with the New Faces of 52. That's where I met Sammy. And he happened to have been standing in the stage door, and I sent him out for coffee because I thought he was, you know, the
somebody
coffee
you sent for
boy. Yeah, somebody you sent for coffee. And he went along with the joke, because when he came back, he handed me the coffee, and then by that time, the girl who introduced me to Sammy told me who he was. I still didn't know who he was. But Sammy got fascinated, I guess, as he told me later, by me. He started to take me out. And we would walk into a restaurant, and they would say, oh, this way, Miss Kitt, please. And Sammy Davis would say, how come they introduce you to a table? I've been in this business since I was 4 years old, and they still don't know who I am. And you've only been here for a year, and everybody in the world knows who you are. I said, that's the way it is, Sammy. So we were always teasing each other about this. And one day, well, after I was teaching Sammy not to read just comic books, you must know artwork and so, you know, verify your intellect. And he was fascinated by that, and I taught him how to drive a car and so forth and so on and so on. So we were getting very, very close. So he would take me to the theater, and one day, in the middle of San Francisco Avenue, the biggest avenue in San Francisco at the time, I was on my way to the theater, and he was going in one direction. And as I got in the middle of the street, Sammy yelled out, I'm gonna be bigger than you are one of these days if it kills me! So, stopping traffic and so forth and so on. I was hysterical with Sammy. He was a lot of fun to be with. But when he wanted to get engaged to me, it was after he had lost his eye, and I was communicating with him in the hospital all the time, and also through friends to see how he was. So I had reopened at La Vie en Rose because, you know, as when I first came back to America, I was singing in too many languages, and people thought, what is that, you know? So I wasn't a success in the beginning. So I started all over again after becoming famous in New Faces, and doing exactly the same act at La Vie en Rose, and there I was, the hottest thing in America. So my dressing room opening night had Doris Duke and all these people, blah, 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 and in walks Sammy Davis with this teensy-weensy little box in his hands, all wrapped in blue with a little bow. And he walks in and he says, Kid, will you come and meet me in the bathroom? I want to show you something. It's a secret. I said, well, how much of a secret can it be, everybody? And I said, Sammy, no. He said, no. You would come into the bathroom with me, and I want to give you something. So he takes me into the bathroom. I said, Sammy, I cannot take this ring. Well, just put it on for tonight, he said. Nobody will know. How can anybody know? He wants me to put it on. I walk back into the room, and the whole world knows already. Sure. The thing that squelched, really, not that I was in love with Sammy, although he was a great guy, and for me, he was a wonderful person. A lot of fun. But when he left my dressing room, he went straight to the telephone and called the newspapers that he had given Eartha Kitt the ring, and I did not appreciate that at all.
Okay. Other men in your life. Let's talk about a president in your life. Eartha was against the Vietnam War, went to the White House, and opened your big mouth at the wrong time. For a lot of us, it was the right time to have opened your mouth. But was there a form of blacklisting that went on?
No, it wasn't blacklisting, it was whitelisting.
Right. Come to think of it, that's brilliant.
It was the White House, not the American people. Within 2 hours, I was out of work. That's what it said on my dossier that was given to me or introduced to me by Seymour Hersh and the New York Times, Jack Anderson. It seemed that I was invited to the White House, and an invitation that said, why is there so much juvenile delinquency in the streets of America? Now, I work with different groups of people all over the world, particularly here in the United States, the underprivileged people. Watts, for instance, happened to be where I have Kidsville Foundation, and those kids are still going strong. But in working with different areas and different communities of the United States of America and trying to see the problems among the different groups of people, I would report it to whatever politician I could get my hands on and say, look, what's happening over there, what's happening over there, what are we doing about it? Anyway, when I was given the floor to give my opinions of why there was so much juvenile delinquency in the streets of America.
In the land of free speech.
Right, and I relayed to Mrs. Johnson what the young boys and their parents had told me. And therefore, since I was not on the side of what the subject, according to Mrs. Johnson, was supposed to be that let's beautify America, I said, yes, I believe in America being beautified, but given you can only afford to beautify America with people who have jobs and not punishing the good, but taking care of the good. What happened?
Actually, according to Eartha, was in 1968, after that White House thing, her career came to a halt. She was blacklisted. She went abroad and worked overseas, and it wasn't till 6 years later, about 6 years later, that she came back. Within the time frame that we've been talking about, Eartha married once for how long?
5 years.
A man who was in real estate.
Well, he was in school at the time I married him.
Bad guy, good guy?
Well, it's very difficult for me to answer. He wasn't very nice to me from a man-woman point of view, because he was always constantly putting me down. But, so that part of him was very insulting, and then he was a thief and all that sort of thing.
Was a thief.
He was a thief, yes. He did get a lot of good properties out of me. But on top of all of that, I got the best of the deal anyway, because I've got my child out of it.
We're going to meet her child when we return.
Katibuyukudan uyanmış gözlerim amur. Katibuyukudan uyanmış gözlerim amur. Katibimin bin katibim elini karışır. Katibimin kolalı da gamlek ne güzel yaraşır.
Bill McDonald, I guess the best thing is sitting next to Eartha Kitt. Please welcome her daughter, Kit McDonald. Kit is married, Kit is pregnant, and just had anew yesterday. I'm the first person to see pictures. Inside, this is really called Inside Pictures. Since we have so little time, I'm going to throw some names out at you. Eartha was very in love with Arthur Lowe from Lowe's movie theaters, Lowe's cinemas.
That's right.
Would you have married him?
Oh, yes. But his mother had me kidnapped in order for him to think that I was a bad girl.
Really?
That's right.
The mother-in-law broke it up.
That's right.
Why?
His mother broke it up.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only son, and all that money is never going to go into the hands of a brown-skinned woman.
Okay. Charles Revson, Revlon Cosmetics president. Charles Revson. What happened?
Well, he was having trouble with the $64,000 question. And he was told that he had to put me in the background for the moment.
Another brown-skinned woman story, right?
Yes, and at the same time, he was afraid that if it was known, because his ex-wife was also threatening him that she would reveal that he was having a brown-skinned mistress, because she was asking for X amount of millions and also 2 children. And with the $64,000 question would have put Charlie Revson into much more trouble. And he was afraid that some of his stockholders would pull out.
There's a picture of you either dancing or rehearsing with Katherine Dunham, and there's a gentleman in the back row dancing who looks like Jimmy Dean.
It is Jimmy Dean.
Jimmy Dean was a dancer?
Well, he was taking physical movement for stage presence, which eventually became my job for him, because he asked me to take over when he was not able to go to civil affords classes. So we became spiritual soulmates. And I always feel that Jamie is still with me, because he was one of those people that didn't have to talk to me, or I to him. We always knew what the other one was thinking.
What a wonderful combination.
I feel that way about her, too.
My kids, Kit, think I'm a pain, and, you know, too possessive, stop calling me, why do you worry about me, I'm a grown-up. Is she the same kind of mother I am?
Not in the sense that she calls me a lot. I mean, I feel her vibes constantly, and we speak all the time, but it's not in the same sense, and she's not a pest.
She's not a pest.
No.
Is she a good mother?
In spite of what the public
No,
thinks,
you,
I'm not a
be
pest.
quiet. I'm talking to the star right now. Sorry, Eartha. Is she a good mother?
Oh, yes.
Do you
Definitely.
love her?
Oh, more than anything.
Isn't it wonderful to hear a daughter say the most important thing in my life, or one of the most important things in my life? Mm-hmm. Have you made this work with your husband?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. My husband and my mother happen to get along very well, although she won't admit it.
Thank God. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Eartha sings.
I'm just an old-fashioned girl with an old-fashioned mind. Not sophisticated, I'm the sweet and simple kind. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. I'd like a plain, simple car, a cerise Cadillac, long enough to put a bowling alley in the back. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. I'll stay weaving at my loom, be no trouble to my groom, if you keep the piles of a money mountain. In our cottage there will be a soundproof nursery, not to wake my baby while I'm counting. I like the old-fashioned flowers, violets are for me. Have them made in diamonds by the man at Tiffany. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. I'm just a pilgrim at heart, oh so pure and genteel. Watch me in Las Vegas when I'm at the spinning wheel. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. I'll ask for such simple things when my birthday occurs. 2 apartment buildings that are labeled hers and hers. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. I like Chopin and Bizet and the songs of yesterday, string quartets and Polynesian carols. But the music that excels is the sound of oil wells as they slurp, slurp, slurp into the barrels. Our little home will be quaint as an old parasol, and instead of carpets I'll have money wall to wall. I want an old-fashioned house with an old-fashioned fence and an old-fashioned millionaire. C'est si bon de patiner beau tout, par-dessus là-dessus, en chantant des chansons. C'est si bon de se dire des mots doux, de petits riens de tout, mais qui en disent en langue, en vaillant notre mineur habillé. Les passants dans la roue nous envient. C'est si bon de guetter dans ses yeux, vous n'est-ce pas, mes béliers, qui connaît la prison. C'est si bon, ces petites sensations, ça va bien, voilà, c'est tellement bon, bravo, c'est bon, voilà, c'est bon. Parlez-vous français? Anglais? Français, anglais, or quoi? Not much of anything, right? Alors, ça m'est égal, vous savez, parce que si vous parlez en anglais, en français, italien, quelque chose comme Hebrew, Swahili, ça m'est égal. ¿Dónde es usted, señor? Where are you from? You're from Florida. ¿No vive aquí en Nueva York? Now you live in New York? Ay, Dios mío, entre Florida y Nueva York. ¿No le hablan español? No es posible, señor. Si usted vive en Florida o aquí en Nueva York, usted es obligada de hablar la lengua de español. Señor, no lo sabe nada. No tiene cabeza, ¿no? Sin vergüenza. Pero no es muy importante. ¿Y sabe bien, señor? Sabe de algo. Voilà, c'était...
Need more time. Gosh, I could listen to you sing forever. All right, people just have to go and show up in person. Kit, tell me about the wedding when, I mean, this is the only child best you've had or ever going to have, and she goes and gets married. Tell us about that.
It was a very difficult time. Needless to say, I know weddings usually are. This was very difficult. As an only child and a parent with a single parent, it's a very difficult time. It symbolizes a tremendous loss. It was very hard for my mother, and consequently it was hard on me.
Did you go to the wedding?
Well, she gave me away. She walked me down the aisle.
You did? Oh, great. I love it. I love that.
That's the interesting thing, that you give your child away.
Yeah.
Not only are you giving it away, but you're paying for it.
Kit, did you ever want to be in show business yourself?
I probably did and avoided it because of fear of competing with my mother in some way. I'm sure that's underlying.
You seem very together. And we hear so many stories of what it's like to be the kid of somebody famous in show business.
6 years of therapy.
Is that it? Is that the answer?
No, it's not totally the answer. A lot of the reason I'm together is because of my mother. And she was very strict in my upbringing, and I think she made me a very stable person.
You are a very stable person. Amazing. You know what?
I thank you for that,
You're
by the way.
welcome. Be sure you do the same to your grandchild. To
With
my
all
grandchild.
the stuff that went on, that's the best production number, isn't it? Amazing. We'll take a
yes.
break. We'll be right back. It will be appearing in July at the Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles. I want that room filled every single night. The book is called...
I'm Still Here.
And you can purchase it in merry old England. I'm glad you're still here. I wish I had more of you to be here. Thank you. Come see us again.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by...
to a certain dramatic flair.
Ah! Oh, what a beautiful morning! Wow!
Eartha Kitt is the cat's meow. A runaway to New York at age 8, she won a scholarship to the Katherine Dunham Dance Company at just 13. She toured the world, and at 20, without even the return fare, had the guts to quit the chorus and go solo. At her Paris debut in 1948, she unleashed a sultry sizzle with a now classic, rich and famous anthem.
Santa, honey, I want a yacht, and really that's not a lot.
And until this day, I still don't know what I did. And the next day, the critic said, the most exciting thing that has happened to Paris in 25 years.
Next, she became the toast of American stage and screen.
Everyone gets into a dull routine.
At every step, she played up her feline qualities perfectly.
Hello, Pierre. This is Catwoman.
Eartha was top cat long before the stray cats, the play cats, and even hep cats were in style.
I think that people think of me in terms of feline-ism because of, they say, the way I move on stage. But that's from being an athlete and from being a dancer.
She's entertained royalty and heads of state in over 100 countries and can sing in 10 languages.
Les passants dans la rue nous envient. C'est si bon de gaieté dans ses yeux. Une esprit merveilleux.
Every time the applause and the adoration comes, you always feel that it may be the last time. So every time you go out there again, it's like a new edition.
Her world came crashing down in 1968 after she spoke out against the Vietnam War. She did it at a White House luncheon with the then First Lady. Back in Europe, with an LBJ blacklisting, she packed concert halls from Athens to Amsterdam until returning home in 1974. A multi-talent with nominations for an Emmy, a Tony, an Oscar, and several Grammys, she says it's all part of being a performer.
It's not a matter of saying, today I think I want to be a singer, tomorrow I want to be an actress, tomorrow I want to be a dancer. I have those abilities. And if they're there, they should be utilized.
Eartha moved from Beverly Hills to rural Connecticut, where she found a 1773 landmark.
This house is older than the United States of America, according to what the Declaration of Independence said, the Bill of Rights and all that razzmatazz. What belongs to this house, on this side is 14 acres of land, and on that side is 63 acres of land. I love nature. I find nature is my survivor, my surviving factor. You run out of champagne. You never run out of godly things.
Divorced since 1965 from real estate whiz Bill McDonald, Eartha remains close with her fashion model daughter.